I'm dealing with shit. I'm dealing.
This man was just on live crying his eyes out, and now footage of him and J Prince Jr. throwing hands is all over the net. But what the blogs ain't putting you onto is how a family worth hundreds of M's turned his own blood against him. This how it went down, the footage and the deal that started it all. Alright, so check it right now. As you are sitting here watching this video, there is a clip making its rounds across every single platform on the internet that behams the entire hip-hop community absolutely bugging out. We are talking about footage showing Finesse2tymes and J Prince Jr., two individuals who were supposed to be building a bag together as business partners caught up in what can only be described as a full-blown physical altercation that has completely and totally torched any last shred of hope that these two could ever get back on the same page. Now, footage of run-ins between these two has popped up before, including incidents spanning from 2023 all the way through 2025 that showed near physical confrontations going down during dice sessions. Affiliates, snatching chains, and heated exchanges damn near escalated into straight-up warfare. There was even a 2024 situation where OG Boot Dirty had to literally step in between them to keep things from going completely left. Each one of those encounters was a warning shot that everybody in the culture could see plain as day, but nobody could stop from spreading. And now, with this latest footage hitting the timeline, the whole thing has blown wide open. But yo, to really and truly understand why this footage is shaking the game the way it is, why this ain't just another celebrity scrap, but rather the final chapter of something way deeper and way more disturbing, you got to rewind the tape all the way back to the jump. You got to understand the deal, the contract, the paperwork that set this entire catastrophe into motion and turned what was supposed to be a come-up into a cage. Let me take you back to the summer of 2022. Gang, Ricky Hampton Jr., the man the streets and the world know as Finesse2tymes, had just touched down from the feds after doing close to 4 years on a firearms possession bid that stemmed from a 2017 nightclub situation in Forest City, Arkansas, where he allegedly let off an AK-style pistol. He copped out, took the 5, did his time like a soldier, and now he was back on the bricks with the entire music industry watching to see what his next move would be. And what happened next looked, at least from the outside, looking in, like a straight-up movie. J Prince Jr., the head honcho of Mob Ties Records, personally scooped Finesse up with a private jet and presented him with a big chain, rolling out the carpet like he was welcoming home a king. Like this was the beginning of something legendary. Like all the pain and suffering was finally about to pay off in a major way. And this was not some no-name operation either. Mob Ties Records is directly plugged into the legendary Rapallet Records, which J Prince Sr. founded back in 1986. The Houston institution that put the Ghetto Boys, Scarface, and Bun B of UGK on the map and changed the whole trajectory of Southern hip-hop forever. So when Finesse put his John Hancock on that contract, he was not just signing with some startup indie label. He was getting initiated into an empire with roots stretching back damn near for decades. An empire built on a reputation that commands both deep respect and deep fear throughout every corner of the music industry. But here is where the fairy tale flips into a horror story. And I mean that with everything in me. The contract that Finesse signed was according to a leaked document that Rap Intel put out in mid-January 2026, structured in a way that a whole lot of industry heads and legal experts have straight up called predatory. The deal reportedly broke down to 35% going to Finesse, 35% sliding over to Mob Ties, and another 30% getting funneled to J Prince Entertainment, which goes by JPE, and this was not just touching album sales. Now, this split reached into foreign royalties, merch, ancillary rights, including tour revenue, and basically every single dollar that Finesse's name and talent could generate from any direction. And the real kicker, the part that had everybody heated when it leaked, was that JPE maintained full managerial control over all business decisions, meaning that even though this joint venture was supposed to let Finesse eat creatively, all the real operational power stayed locked in the grip of the Prince family. In viral live streams from January 2026, the Memphis rapper had a full and emotional breakdown in front of thousands of viewers, tears running down his face as he described producing 2 whole projects with barely any promotion from the label, shelling out 10 to 15 racks per music video from his own pocket, and having show offers worth serious money get turned down by Mob Ties, which forced him to go hunting for independent deals that could have been worth anywhere from $10 to $20 million. This was a grown man at the end of his rope, and the whole world was watching it unfold in real time. I'm dealing with deal. And then he got into what was really eating him alive, the thing that cut deeper than any contract clause ever could. You know what hurt me the most? You could hear the pain in his voice before the words even came out, and what he said next put the entire power dynamic of this situation into the sharpest possible focus. I'm dealing with a daddy worth $30 something million, bro. Let that sit for a second. He is describing the people who control his career, the people who hold the keys to his music as individuals who were born into generational wealth. And then he contrasts that with his own reality. My mama and dad ain't never been worth 10,000. That contrast right there, that gap between 300 million and 10,000. That is the whole story in 2 sentences. And the desperation only intensified as he laid out what he had sacrificed to get where he is. I did all this, robbed, killed, stole, deceived, fought, died, lied, just to be right. Underscore you got meat up. Yo, those words hit like a freight train when you really sit with the context, Here is a dude who came from the absolute bottom, who went through the fire of incarceration multiple times, who put his body and his freedom on the line to build something real, only to find out that the people holding the keys to his career were silver spoon kids whose daddy is sitting on a $300 million throne. And the Prince family got a long track record when it comes to these types of accusations. Artists like Zero have gone on record about how they were treated under the Rope-A-Lot umbrella, and the family's reputation for what the streets call insurance policies and intimidation moves has been an open secret in the game for years. The internet stays buzzing with warnings that anyone who steps to the princes could catch some serious blowback, and the memes about people catching mysterious consequences barely cover up a real, palpable fear that has been running through hip-hop for decades on decades. Finesse himself went as far as offering to drop 5 complete albums just to buy his way out of the contract, accusing J. Prince Jr. of ducking real conversations, setting up fake meetings, and blowing money on personal luxuries while his artist was out here struggling to keep the lights on. At 33 years old, with 10 kids counting on him, the mental and emotional pressure had become too much to carry. Lil Woody, on that Vlad TV sit-down, had already broken down just how wild the situation looked from the outside. He went straight at Finesse for not doing the one thing that could have saved him from all of this. And I told him the only reading he should have been doing is to read that contract from Mob Ties. Woody was not done there. He flipped the whole reading contest challenge right back on Finesse with one of the coldest bars in any interview this year. "You can't call me out on my education when you just sat right there and turned yourself into a slave, buddy." And then he drove the point home even further by breaking down just how obvious the red flag should have been for anybody coming out of the streets. "Guess you should have read your own contract before signing the life away." Woody kept the pressure on, pointing out that the contract was so clearly problematic that it did not take any kind of advanced education to see through it. And then he posed the question that everybody has been asking since this whole saga began, the one that still does not have a satisfying answer. It didn't take a rocket science to figure out there was a bad contract. We grow up watching these rappers sign bad contracts. How the world do we sign one? Tell me you understand. That is the million-dollar question right there. And then Woody capped it all off by flipping the whole literacy debate on its head with some real street philosophy. Everything you just said proved to be a bad contract. You can't see the problem with Finesse's. You can't come over here and try to make me illiterate. However you pronounce it, at least I can comprehend. And one more gem, because Woody was genuinely cooking in this entire segment. See you reading. If that can read, he reading. What's the purpose of reading if you can't comprehend? I rather comprehend than know how to read. Woody was out here cooking with that one. No cap. And that is the foundation of this whole mess right there. That is the deal. That is the trap. And that is exactly why, when you press play on that footage of Finesse2tymes and J. Prince Jr. getting into it, you are not watching some random scuffle between two dudes who got heated. You are watching the violent eruption of a relationship that was built on exploitation. An eruption of a relationship that was built on exploitation. Desperation, and a stack of broken promises as tall as a skyscraper. Blood in the water, beefs, betrayals, and the breaking point. Now, if the contract weighs sickness, then what went down next was the infection spreading through every single relationship. Finesse2tymes had eating away at alliances, destroying bonds that were built in the trenches, and pulling innocent people into a war zone they never signed up for. Because the fallout from this mob ties situation did not stay in its lane between Finesse and J. Prince Jr. It spilled over into other beefs, other feuds, other confrontations that collectively created the most chaotic, most turbulent, most destructive stretch in Finesse's already wild and unpredictable life. And no relationship got hit harder, more publicly, and more unnecessarily than the one between Finesse2tymes and his former label mate, Honeycomb Brazy. Now, to really get the full picture of this beef, you got to understand how these two linked up in the first place. Because it started in a place that a whole lot of connections in the southern rap world get started behind the wall. While Honeycomb Brazy was doing a bid stemming from 2021 charges connected to a shooting that tragically took the lives of his own grandparents, and Finesse was locked in on his own federal case. Cats in the system, who knew both of them, started playing matchmaker. Finesse breaks the whole origin story down himself. "I was in the shoe, and when I used to rap on the do, and N was like, man, you know Honey come from Alabama." I'm like, "Nah man, but you like a third." So he had never even heard of the man at first, but the homies on the inside kept pushing, kept telling him to check out this rapper from Mobile, who was making serious noise. They just said like Honeycomb from Alabama, like, "Yeah man, check him out. When you get out, man, he hard man. You really like him man." You mind me so much, honey. Y'all just like, you know. And once Finesse got transferred to a facility in Atlanta where they had access to phones, he was finally able to see what all the hype was about for himself. So when I got to Atlanta, your house, they had phones. So I was seeing it, you know. Oh, so this, the honeycomb underscore they was talking about. So I reached out to him. The connection clicked immediately, and once they started building, Finesse's whole circle confirmed the love was mutual. They were like, he with me. So I'd reached out. I seen it. You know what I'm saying? My guys, and they were like, bro, with you, like he always posts. So I reached out. We chopped it up, and it was what it was. And Finesse made it crystal clear that the support honeycomb showed him while they were both locked up was 100% real. Like I said, bro, I ain't going to lie. Bro, me in jail. Bro, underscore with me in jail. I ain't going to never put no cap out. Bruh, like it is what it is. So the love was genuine. Feel me, two thoroughbred street rappers from the dirty South who recognized the realness in each other and built a bond through the prison system rooted in mutual respect and shared struggle. Honeycomb Brazy stayed 10 toes down for Finesse while he was on lock, even turning down a whole $40,000 feature bag for Moneybag Yo because he was riding with Finesse. On top of that, Brazy sent bread, reportedly $1,500. And when a man who is locked up takes money out of his own family's pocket and sends it your way, that gesture carries a weight that cannot be measured in dollar signs. But when Finesse touched down in 2022, the whole thing went sideways almost immediately. Honeycomb expected the favor to come back, and Finesse says he was with it. But the timing was a complete disaster. He paints this picture of being literally 3 days fresh out the feds, fumbling through an airport for the first time in his life. And in the middle of all of that confusion, Honeycomb was on the phone pressing for money. Christian with me like my man, but he on the phone. He want me to say, I don't even know what the Zale is. I don't know what, and the moment Finesse could not deliver on the spot, the whole dynamic shifted. So it's like he like, but can you go? Send the name. And when I weren't able to do it when he wanted me to do it, it became a show. So, it wasn't like I didn't want to do it. It was that whole exchange tells you everything you need to know about how this beef jumped off fam. It was never really about the money at the core. It was about timing, about pride, about two dudes from the trenches who could not figure out how to communicate what they needed without letting ego blow the whole thing up. Finesse eventually slid some bread over, reportedly 1,500 to 2 stacks, and figured the situation was dead. But the silence crept back in, and then Honeycomb hit Finesse up, asking him to pull up on his mother with some cash. A request that Finesse wanted to honor but could not get done right away because he was posted in Memphis and the people he called on were not available. Then the public fallout got real ugly real fast. Honeycomb Brazy dropped a diss track called Why He Lie, painting Finesse as a cap artist and a user. Finesse clapped back by trolling Brazy all over social media, questioning his manhood. Then Brazy's mama, Ms. T, jumped in the ring to defend her son on the internet. And Finesse went across the line by going directly at a man's mother, which in the hood is basically like detonating a nuclear bomb on sacred ground. On top of all that, the snitching accusations popped off when Honeycomb Brazy pointed the finger at Finesse for FBI surveillance connected to his 2023 arrest. But Brazy eventually went through his own paperwork and took the whole accusation back. TTE Naughty broke the betrayal angle down with zero filter. He started by pointing out the move that had everybody in the culture side-eyeing Finesse the hardest. And what's weird is and you had the situation where Honeycomb Ray was saying mob ties. He was like and he was saying, loyal to Finesse2tymes while he was locked up and he turned down the bag for Moneybag Yo, like you said, right? So Honeycomb turned down real money out of loyalty while Finesse was locked up. But then what happened when Finesse got out was the part that had folks heated. But then Finesse2tymes, one of his first videos is with Moneybag Yo when he got out, which is a odd look man, got 4 deals. The bottom line, according to Naughty, was simple. When you sign out of desperation instead of strategy, you end up getting played by the same system you were trying to beat. Well, when you sign, that means your attention is to new hyena. You just feeding at the mouth for some green, some money. Now your problem going to be now it ain't going to even excite you no more. Your life going to be miserably cause guess what? Naughty was spitting straight facts on that one. No sugarcoating, no chaser. But here's where the plot twists in a way that absolutely nobody on the internet saw coming. Despite all the diss tracks, all the disrespect, all the snitch talk, Finesse and Honeycomb Brazy dead. The whole beef by late 2025, and the reason they buried the hatchet is as simple as it is heartbreaking. They finally realized they had been going to war with each other, while the real op was the label that had been finessing both of them the entire time. Joaquin stamped it as official, describing a phone call where both artists chopped it up about growth and about being done. fighting over crumbs from a table that was never designed to feed either one of them properly. And if the honeycomb situation was not enough heat, other wolves were circling. Whack 100 went on a whole public rampage against J. Prince Jr., making explosive accusations about how the Prince family was moving in Houston. The snitching allegations from 1090 Jake and J. Demix kept stacking up too, with a posting a whole $20,000 bounty for anybody Finesse supposedly told on to come forward. A Memphis underscore by the name of Seti Nash went viral claiming he was in the paperwork and Finesse's own drug busts in September 2025, October 2025, and January 2026 meant he was fighting the system and the label and his former homies and the court of public opinion all at the same damn time. The blood was in the water, and every shark with a nose for drama was circling the Prince family dynasty, the deafening silence, and what happens now? Right? So now we got to get into the part of this whole situation that most people, and I mean content creators, media personalities, industry insiders, all of them are genuinely afraid to talk about out loud. This is the part that makes other YouTubers pull back on their words. That makes people in the business speak in codes and whispers. And that makes even the most outspoken voices in hip-hop media think twice before hitting that record button. Because to fully grasp the magnitude of what Finesse2tymes is dealing with right now, to fully comprehend exactly how serious it is when that viral footage shows him standing in the face of J. Prince Jr., you got to understand who the Prince family really is, what they have constructed over the course of nearly 40 years, and why so many people in the culture believe that going against them is not just a bad business decision, but a potentially life-altering mistake. J. Prince Sr., born James Prince in Houston, Texas in 1965, established Rap-A-Lot Records in 1986, initially as a vehicle to keep his younger stepbrother and the homies in the neighborhood away from the street life. That label went on to become one of the most dominant forces in Southern hip-hop history, but the business side of the Rap-A-Lot operation has always had a shadow hanging over it. Back in the 1990s, the D kicked off a full-scale federal investigation based on suspicions that the label was being used as a front for a major drug trafficking operation. The probe ran for years with wiretaps and informants, but at the end of the day, it produced 0 charges against Prince. Instead, the 2 lead D agents got hit with convictions for corrupt conduct. Prince has consistently called the whole thing a racial imitative witch hunt, and the outcome solidified his street legend status as a man who is untouchable. His son, J. Prince Jr., stepped directly into the family legacy, inheriting not just the business empire, but the mystique that comes with the Prince name. Jr. first made serious waves in the industry back in 2007 when he discovered Drake on MySpace. He connected him with Lil Wayne, helping facilitate the deal that ultimately brought Drake to Young Money Entertainment. That introduction changed hip-hop history, but it also led to business tension. In 2012, Drake's associate Jazz Prince sued Cash Money Records over unpaid royalties. The lawsuit eventually settled for a reported $11 million. That's why when J. Prince Jr.'s name comes up, it carries generational weight. He's not just another industry figure, he represents a dynasty. But the smoke around Jr. goes far beyond boardroom deals. On November 1, 2022, Takeoff, a member of Migos, was shot and killed at a Houston bowling alley during a private event that J. Prince Jr. was hosting. Viral footage appeared to show Jr. walking past Takeoff's body, and that clip ignited outrage, speculation, and conspiracy theories from every direction. Takeoff's bandmate Offset publicly criticized the Prince family, calling them ops outright. The tension spilled into the open, and the culture took notice. Then came other controversies. Online commentators linked Jr.'s name to the murder of jeweler Duke, the jeweler, alleging he set up a dice game that ended violently. Though these claims remain in 2023, additional unproven allegations surfaced across social media platforms. Through all of it, the Prince family maintained complete silence. And that silence, in hip-hop culture, it carries weight. This is the same family that Finesse2tymes decided to challenge publicly. The same family whose son he went chest to chest with in footage that set the internet ablaze. And that's exactly why the culture is watching closely. Industry personality Whack 100 added fuel to the conversation, suggesting there's more happening behind the scenes in Houston than meets the eye. He pointed to turmoil in the city's club scene and hinted at larger power dynamics at play. Then he made it personal, saying he was done staying silent about people moving foul and claiming he would expose wrongdoing if he saw it. That's when the conversation shifted to the age-old contradiction in hip-hop. The snitch label. When does calling out wrongdoing become cooperation? When does exposure cross the line? The heated exchange highlighted the uncomfortable gray area the culture constantly wrestles with. Meanwhile, as of February 2026, J. Prince Jr. has not responded publicly to any of it. Not to Finesse's frustration, not to the viral footage, not to the online accusations, nothing. And in the streets, silence can be louder than words. For Finesse2tymes, the stakes are extremely high. his legal troubles continued to stack up: supervised release violations, multiple drug arrests, and federal scrutiny. A physical altercation caught on camera with someone tied to such a powerful family could easily jeopardize his freedom. Bat fans are urging him to lawyer up and fight for independence. But contracts are real. As long as paperwork exists with his name on it, and as long as J. Prince Jr. reportedly holds leverage over his catalog and career, this isn't just internet drama. It's a power struggle. The shadow of the Prince family's empire still looms large over Houston's rap scene, and no viral clip, no matter how many views it racks up, can resolve a battle rooted in contracts, influence, and long-standing industry power. So now the real questions begin. Does Finesse ever break free from this situation? Is J. Prince Jr.'s silence a calculated chess move, or something more? And after watching that footage, whose side are you really on?